Hello. I wanted to spend some time talking about stress and why it matters. And there are so many reasons that stress matters, but let's just start by talking about the impacts that stress has on the brain. So, when an animal is going through overwhelming stress that exceeds their ability to cope, both during development and in adulthood, changes to the animal's brain. And there are three key areas that we know are impacted very dramatically. So, the first one is the amygdala, which I'm sure many people are aware of. That brain area is really well known for playing an important role in fear. So, the more the amygdala is activated, the stronger the fear the animal experiences. And it also plays important roles in things like figuring out how important stimuli are. So, the salience of stimuli, is this something that I need to pay attention to or not? And then also threat assessment, determining if this is something I need to pay attention to. Is it threatening or is it not threatening? And what stress does is it causes an increase in the activity of the amygdala, fear responses, threat associations, and responses to stimuli are all heightened. So that's one thing that stress does. Another thing that stress does is it impairs the activity of the prefrontal cortex. This is the brain area that is primarily responsible for what we would typically consider thinking, not the only brain area, but one of the big ones. And especially in processes known as executive function. So this includes things like maintaining focus, inhibiting behavior, and regulating emotion. And so one of the primary roles of the prefrontal cortex is to help the animal to regulate their behavior and regulate their emotions. So, for example, when the amygdala is heightened and the animal is experiencing a large amount of fear or anxiety, the prefrontal cortex can come in and dampen that down. But if the prefrontal cortex is impaired and not working appropriately, it is less able to do that. And then it also plays an important role in inhibiting behavior. And again, if the prefrontal cortex is impaired, it is less able to do that. The third really important area is the hippocampus, and the hippocampus plays an important role in context memory. So, when an animal develops fear, learned fear to something, they also develop a context memory. So, something scary happened. That is the primary fear learning, but that scary thing also happened in a particular place or a particular context. And the hippocampus stores the information about where that scary thing happened. What happens with toxic stress is the hippocampus is impaired, which means the animal starts to lose that input about the context, and they start to lose the ability to discriminate between safe and unsafe contexts. And so then you can get this overgeneralization of fear. So we have these three brain areas that are all impacted in ways that serve to maximize the animal's both emotional and behavioral response to stress in a variety of different ways. So that means that we want to do everything we can to minimize overwhelming stress, both during development and right now in the current moment if we're working with adult dogs, because it is going to impact their brain in such a way that it makes them more difficult to cope with their immediate experiences.